full-length sound tests will be recorded after KeyCon, which is June 13th. If you bought the blackout version like me, buying the internal brass weights are not required. In my opinion, it's a minimal sound difference. Wireless hotspot PCB uses ZMK, and you cannot use the USB 2.0 hub with the wireless PCB. The magnets are strong, so be careful when removing the top and bottom case. Stiff typing feel, but not fatiguing, unless you have hand or finger issues. $189 shipped for the blackout version is fantastic, but I'm not sure if you can still get that. But the base price of $220 shipped is also good. My minor gripes and cons include the usage of adhesive force brake pads versus non-adhesive, needing, or maybe not, to use 8 screws to screw the internals into the bottom case. The QC issues seem to be minimal, but always protect yourself and record your unboxing experience and QC your unit. ZMK Studio is much improved from the Bakaneko Go ZMK process, but still might be a little bit of a learning curve compared to VIA and File. Alphas are fantastic, and depending on the plate, PC and FR4 based on my tests, the spacebar is a bit more muted. Build process is easy peasy. Whoever wrote the build guide, great job. Very beginner friendly. Hello, Hubert the Mad here. I have a review video for you. Well, not just a review video. I have the usual unboxing, build, and review video. This is the first video of this sort in a couple months. It is not because I have given up on YouTube, but it is because I've been working slowly, meticulously in the background. There is a compilation of a lot of plates from Hype Keyboards. Shout out Tom from Hype Keyboards. And all of those sound tests of the various different plates will be part of my plate guide that I will be eventually finalizing. But each plate takes about 8 to 10 hours for me to go through every single sound test, all my 8 switches, different keycaps and things like that. So it's taken a while. But because I just recently got my Vida from Canon Keys in, I decided to make a Vida series. So this is the unboxing / build guide / sound test and review video. The different plates, because I got the carbon fiber, the PC, the FR4, and I'll have to look at the listing, but I'm pretty sure it comes with the aluminum. So 4 different plates, 4 different sound tests. They will not be in this video in terms of complete 3 to 4 hour long sound tests, but there'll be short snippets in this video. So check out the description below to figure out where those full length sound tests are. Use the timestamps below to skip between different parts, unboxing, build guide, review video, so on and so forth. I love you all, and let's get started. I am not going to make this video extremely long for the sake of it being long. I have created a video of what I believe should be important steps for you to take if you're QCing your board as a beginner. So I'm not going to go through every single step because I'll just refer you to that video. So my opinion is whenever you receive a parcel or a keyboard, keycaps, whatever, ever since the float debacle, I want to be recording the full unboxing process. Not only will this save my butt in case there are issues, but it's just nice to have a record of it, right? Even if you're not posting it on YouTube. This is to protect you, the customer, the buyer, and it also proves to the vendor or whoever is in charge of QC issues, hey, it came like this. I did not make a mistake and mess up the PCB or scratch this or that. It literally is from start to finish a full unboxing video. This is the packing slip. So we got the Vida keyboard. Oh, yeah, always make sure to either have your order popped up on your screen while you're going through all these pieces so you know what you have, what's missing, and so on and so forth. So there should be the keyboard, which is a blackout WinKey edition, the wireless PCB, aluminum plate, and then there's a carbon fiber plate that I added on as an extra. There is a PC plate, and there's an FR4 plate that I added on as an extra. There is one soldered PCB that I added on as an extra, and I added on the internal sandblasted brass weights. Also, hope everyone has been having a great May, June. I know things are rough there in the world in general. Everybody has it rough, right? I'm grateful that I live in the US of A and that I know that there are people that have it worse than I am. But still, if you're having a hard time, please reach out to to friends, family. If you need professional help, reach out and get that help, because what's most important is your health, whether it be mental, emotional, or physical. So the internal weights to sandblasted brass. As you see here, we have the first of the two internal sandblasted brass pieces. Little cannon there. And please forgive my setup here. I am in a sound test setup. That's why I'm using my lav mic and not my SM58, SM57. These two are my small diaphragm condenser mics, the CM4, Line Audio CM4. I got a pair of them. So here's the other one. It says Vida. It says Vida. So one has a Can Keys logo, one has Vida. What I'm doing right now is I'm trying to see if there's any scuffs or anything. Like I mentioned in my QC video, you want to either pull up the listing of the product that you bought, or figure out the QC disclaimer to figure out what is acceptable, what is not. Because obviously, if there's like a huge scratch and the listing says, the only acceptable things are 1 millimeter scratches and things like that, it's an issue. So I'm pulling up here, quality and content disclaimer. A stock units should not have any external scratches or egregious marks seen when built. Any internal flaws and marks, including hook marks that are not seen when built, do not constitute a B stock unit. Screw holes are not fully anodized or coated, and small marks near the hole opening might be present. When raw or thinly coated, brass will oxidize and patina naturally. Small blemishes and discolorations may be visible. This is the FR4 plate. So we got the FR4 plate doing the same thing as the brass internal weights. I'm just looking to see a quick glance to see if there are any issues. And in terms of plates, when issues, if it's bowing unnecessarily, or if there's actual damage, or if the switch cutouts are super rough or irregular or not the right size, those are some issues. Or if, for example, the mounting points, like one's broken off or shorn off, obviously that's an issue. So this looks like to be the PC plate, smoky PC plate. Yeah, there's some scratches, some surface scratches and things like that. But that's, hey, PC scratches, right? As long as it's not necessarily broken or anything, I don't care about it. Once we install the switches and keycaps, you're not going to see the plate necessarily either. So PC plate looks okay. I say take as much time as you feel would make it comfortable. Will make it comfortable for you in terms of QCing your board, building your board. Because while a lot of us want to open the board, build the board immediately, if you're like me, the mailman or the UPS guy or the FedEx lady, whatever, it comes after or during my workday. So I have to finish work first before I can focus on keyboards. And after work, I exercise or I have this and that. So I may not have enough time to allocate 100% or a good amount of my brain into the build process. And the reason why I think that's an issue, the reason why I think you should always set aside time where not only are you fresh physically, mentally, emotionally, in a good headspace, is because you may miss things. You may be rushing things. You may be rushing the QC just so you can get that board done. After a long day work, I just want to get this board done. Want to get built and I can play with it, as opposed to, hey, maybe I'll wait until the weekend where I'm fresh. I can go as slow as possible at my own pace and figure out things. So I misspoke. This is the FR4 plate. So look at the FR4 plate. The mounting areas seem fine. Switch cutouts seem fine. Let us put the 3 plates on top of each other. That's also a way to figure out. Yeah, the switch cutouts look good. This keyboard was QC'd by BP. Thank you, BP. This is my solder PCB. I will not be testing the solder PCB now because I want to unbox everything first. But testing your PCB, hot swap and or soldered, 1000% is recommended. Please check out my QCing video where I go in depth of how to test a soldered PCB and a hot swap PCB. For the hot swap PCB, you just need one switch. For the soldered PCB, you just need tweezers. And let's QC the PCB itself. So what I'm looking here, I'm looking at the front of the PCB to make sure there's no significant damage. And I'm looking at the back of the PCB, make sure that nothing is shorn off. Make sure there's not any damage. So let's unbox the board itself. Ooh, so I am a sucker for Canon keys, cloth things. Cloth. I wouldn't call them microfiber, but these little cloth Canon keys, cloths. I love them because they're more substantial than, I don't know. I like to use shower caps as dust covers, so they're more substantial than that. Okay, force brake gasket, 4 pieces. Vida plate gasket, 8 pieces. AKB feet, 4 pieces. We have our Allen keys, Allen wrenches, tools, and screws. We have the aluminum plate, USB-C daughter board, USB 2.0 hub. So this is the hub. And of course, we got the JST cable, Molex to JST cable, and screws for the daughter board and everything. Now we have wireless Vida. So this comes with a 1000 milliamp hour, 3.7 volt battery. And here is the hot swap wireless PCB. Make sure I don't see any damage. Check the back. Make sure no hot swap sockets shorn off or broken off or detached. So as far as I can see, everything looks fine. But again, when we test these, we test both the wireless, both the hot swap and the solder PCBs, we'll know for sure. But so this is the blackout version. Like I said, the cheapest. Vida. Oh, that's cool. Smooth. Oh, was that dumb? No, there we go. Vida. Pretty hefty, huh? One of the reasons why this was delayed was because of the issues with the magnets. Canon keys want to make sure that the magnets were strong enough, amidst other things. So the internal weights also have the, please, Vida and the Canon logo. So let's see how easy it is for me to detach this. Wow, so this is okay. Dang, so these magnets are strong. Wow, I apologize for my for how weak I am. I guess that's a good thing, right? If the magnets are strong. If the magnets are strong, then that means the magnets are strong. That means that it's hard for the case to get disassembled, right? Holy buckets! Wow. Did I mess that up, or are the magnets really that strong? Holy buckets. I had to exert more force than expected there. Maybe I wasn't supposed to. Oh. These alignment pillars come off, by the way. They look plastic. Yeah, so you see the 1, 2, 3, 4 magnets on the bottom, 1, 2, 3 magnets on the top. Now, I'm just going to take out the alignment pillars. Now, I'm going to QC the board, the case. So as we read on the QC disclaimer on the listing, a stock unit should not have any external scratches or egregious marks seen when built. So that means nothing on the external parts of the top and bottom cases. See little flecks here and there, but they're small, guys. They're small. Let me see if I can show the camera. Oh my gosh, they're so small. They're so small. You know, I believe though when I put the top case on, you won't see them. So let's test that hypothesis. After I take a quick look at the top case, all right, so I close it. Now let's look for those splotches again. Huh? The splotches are no longer able to be seen when the top case and bottom case are closed. So not an issue, right? We read how When fully built, there shouldn't be any egregious damage or scratches. And fully built means the top and bottom case are put together. So I don't see any issues. Yeah. I don't see any damage. Please refer to my QC video if you want everything, an in-depth guide as much as I can in terms of how to QC. What we did was we filmed the entire unboxing process to protect our butts and as for proof in case there are any issues in the future. So we recorded the whole unboxing process. We pulled up either the packing list that came with the package or our order list. What did we order? What items are we supposed to have in this package? And then we went down. Okay, so 4 plates total. Aluminum plate came with it, and then FR4 carbon fiber PC plate. Yep, we got all those. We got the additional internal brass sandblasted weights. We have the soldered PCB. So we have everything, right? So you record your unboxing experience. You, excuse me, you look at what items are supposed to come, what items you're supposed to have in the package, and you make sure that you have every single item. If you don't have an item, reach out. That's where the unboxing video may even help you. If they ask, can you send us an unboxing video? Reach out if you're missing something. So I've unboxed everything. I've made sure that I have all of the parts, and I've done a quick glance in terms of QC. Now what we're going to do, I'm not doing it on camera. I'm not going to include this in my video, but now what I'm going to do is test the soldered PCB and the hot swap PCB. If you want to figure out how to do that specifically, check out that QC video that I'll link in the description. For the hot swap PCB, you just want to use a switch. For the soldered PCB, you just want to use tweezers. You basically connect the PCB to the daughter board and connect the daughter board to your computer, and that's how you test. For the soldered PCB, for the hot swap PCB, you put switches in after you attach the PCB to the daughter board and the daughter board to your computer. You put switches in to actuate each of the parts on the PCB where you put switches. For the soldered PCB, you do the same thing, but without a switch, you'd use tweezers. So you poke, 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 poke where the switch pins are supposed to go. So that's how you test your PCBs. Again, not going to do it in this video. If you want to see a video where I do that in depth, it's the QC video. That is the end of the unboxing experience. Next, we're going to get into how to build the Vida. Let's build the Vida. And before we do, I want to let you know that I took my own advice in terms of making sure I had enough time allocated to do either the build process or the unboxing or the whole process in general. So yesterday we did the unboxing, but I realized that it was better for me to wait to build the Vida until the next day, which is today. Again, make sure you set enough time aside to do what you want to do instead of rushing everything. You can do whatever you want, but in my opinion, I don't like to rush things. I like to take my time, and I like to enjoy the build process. When it comes to the Vida, sometimes keyboards have build guides either on their listing where you bought the keyboard, or what I found with the Vida, it's in the Discord of the lead vendor or the designer. So since I got my unit from Canon Keys, and because AKB James, who works for Canon Keys, and Canon Keys designed this board, I went to the Canon Keys Discord, and let me turn on OBS here, and I found Chippy's post regarding the build guide. For super simple boards or for boards that I already know how to build, I still look to see if there's a build guide just in case there's something that I overlook. For the Vida, I just want to make sure that I'm doing everything correctly. So we're using the build guide. If you feel like you can build this without using a build guide, that's fine. So we already did the getting started here. We took a look at what came with the kit yesterday, and we made sure that everything was included. Testing the PCB. I did not record this, but I did test the PCB. I tested the soldered PCB off camera, but let's build our build with the hot swap PCB first. What I want to do before I even look at the build guide is to actually build out my internals. And what I mean by internals is I want to put the stabilizers, the plate, and the switches into the PCB that I'm going to use. Because I'm going to make many sound tests, I'm going to use the hot swap PCB. Although I always usually buy 2 soldered PCBs and I Mil-Max 1, and I keep the other either unused or just soldered with another build. Since we have the hot swap PCB, and since I'll be using it wireless for the majority of my typing, not just typing tests, but just daily use, let's use the wireless hot swap PCB. Be careful with these Molex to JST connectors. If you're smart, you would buy a couple extras. I know that when Geon was selling the Ligeras, I bought like the pack of 50 or 100 or something like that. I know Canon Keys sells JST the Molex as well, so it's always nice to have extras. But first, we have the PCB, we've got the plate, we've got switches. One of the 8 switches that I'll use are KTT Roses. I'll put the description of how I modded them below, but basically just switched them to thick thock springs, and I oiled the springs with GPL 105. I also lubed the stem rails of the switch itself with 205G0. Something that I love to do because I like to prep if I have time. So I bought these from Ringer Keys, but you obviously can go to many different places or even create your own stab tester. And the reason why I like these stab testers is because I can basically tune my stabs and have them ready to go for future builds without having to do stabs the day of the build. So I like to prep, you know. Let's do the 7U. I use cherry clip-ins as well because many different types of stabs, cherry clip-ins, I've mastered how to tune them. Pretty simple for me. I bought a bunch from Mauser and from Zepsity keyboards, Jason from Zepsity keyboards, when they were still a thing. So why do I bother with using any other stab when I can tune cherry stabs no problem? And I have a bunch of them. You can use whatever stabs you want. I just love using cherry clip-ins. Let's start off with the PC plate. I like to use a plate fork when I'm installing these stabs or installing the switches into a very flexible plate. This ensures that whenever I insert the switch, it doesn't sink the plate. And through the magic of editing, I have put my switches into my plate, and I finished my internals. So let's actually go to the build guide now. So it says testing the PCB. Yeah, we already did that. I did not do it on camera, but I basically broke off the USB hub and the daughter board very carefully. However, I still have to break these parts off. Here, can I show them? Let me break off those parts. It says hex. So I'm putting in one of the hex Allen keys, and I'm very carefully just breaking it off, breaking these little parts off. So I'll do the next one, put in the hex key, slowly, carefully break it off. Now that you've tested that the PCB is working, remove the Molex connector from the PCB, but keep the cable installed on the daughter board. Oh, okay. Apologies. So when removing the Molex cable from the PCB, you have to be careful, right? It does snap off easily, but I have seen situations where you yank it and it breaks the Molex connector. So it looks like here, we're going to install the daughter board and the USB hub into the Vida first. Remove the 2 internal weights. Yes, I have a Geon X Nanch screwdriver kit, but since Canon Keys gave us these Allen keys, might as well use them. So just find the one that fits. I will speed this up as well. Okay, I've unscrewed the internal aluminum weights. There is a spot for the USB hub. There is a spot for the daughter board. Pretty self-explanatory. So as you can see here, I placed the USB hub and I placed the daughter board, making sure that obviously the USB hub is correctly installed. Then we use the screws that were in the same bag as the daughter board and USB hub, 7 daughter board screws. Okay, so I have screwed the daughter board and the USB hub into the bottom case. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. With the screws, I will remove the top case. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, these magnets are strong. I see that I can also install the battery. Or I can just push the battery here for now. Internal weights. All right, let's put the internal weights back. So the internal weight with the Canon goes on the right side, and the internal weight that says Vida goes on the left. When I'm screwing these in, ladies and gentlemen, make sure not to over tighten anything. Set the bottom case aside, locate the PCB, install your stabilizers into the PCB. We already did that. It's recommended to test their functionality and sound before continuing with the build. I already did that with the stab testers. Once the stabs are functioning properly, install the switches into the PCB and plate. We already did that. We blah, blah, blah. Make sure your switches are properly clipped into the plate. So we jumped ahead a little bit. Lay the PCB flat on a desk or table while pushing in switches. Alternatively, you can support the sockets from the back of the PCB. Yes, so sometimes when you use hot swap PCBs and you insert your switches, if the PCB is not laying on a flat surface, or if you're not supporting the back of the hot swap socket with your finger, as you press the switch in, it can pop out a socket. Okay, so what I'm doing now is there are 2 cables for me because I have a battery, and yeah, this is the battery cable, and this is the USB, the daughter board cable. So let us plug in the Molex for the daughter board first, and then let us plug in the battery. Careful, careful. So the next step, we're on step 8. Now it's time to install the 4 force brake gaskets and the bottom mount gaskets. 4 of these should be installed into the bottom case. Force brake gaskets. So pretty easy build so far. If you are a first-time keyboard builder, it may seem like a lot of steps, but rest assured, the build guide is very well written, and I believe in your abilities. All right, we installed those gaskets. Now let's install the other ones, making sure that the holes line up. One thing that I would like to say is I wish that they gave us extra of these adhesives, because if you're like me, sometimes you make a mistake, right? And it's nice to have an extra. Oh gosh, like sticking these 2 together. Yeah, I understand that maybe it would increase in cost, but I like a few spares. Install the plate and PCB assembly into the bottom case using the screws provided. So now we install the screws where we put in the gaskets. Again, just make sure not to over tighten. Do not over tighten. And there you have it. It's installed into the bottom case. Final assembly. Now it's time to close the case. If the nylon pins are not in place, so remember when I removed them accidentally yesterday, put them in place. Again, I wish there were extras of these. All right, let's attach our feeties now, AKB James feeties. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Installed the feet. So the only thing we have to do next, while I throw all this away in the garbage, is put on our keycaps. Let me grab GMK Sumi. All right, I'll see you guys in a couple minutes. And there you have it. GMK Sumi on my black Vida. Ooh, I can already tell you that I love the alphas. Enter and left shift, great. External keys, great. Yeah, I love this. The spacebar is not too pronounced. It's a little muted. Oh yeah, this is great. This is great. We have successfully built at least the hot swap wireless version of this. Let me see. Bluetooth functionality. Battery switch. Oh yes. So there's a battery switch under the caps. Let's get some tweezers. To turn the battery on or off, there's a switch located below your caps lock key. Make sure Vida is not plugged in, has battery installed. Turn on the battery. On. 39% battery. Okay, let's see if I can type. Ooh, it works. It works. Bluetooth works. All right. Well, it's a good thing that it works. So what have we done? Yesterday, we filmed an entire unboxing documenting the whole process, even though in this finished video, I shortened things up. I have the full unboxing video. This is important because it saves your butt in case there are issues or you're missing parts, or you have to go to a vendor or whoever is in charge of QC and say, hey, I'm missing this, I forgot this, or this is broken, or this is damaged, because I record the whole thing, right? So we record the unboxing. We made sure that all the parts that are supposed to be with the keyboard kit are present, all the extras that we bought. And then today, we built the wireless hot swap version of this board. All in all, I'd say this build, very easy. I would use a build guide for this just because there is a little more to it because of all the different screws and this or that. But it's something that I have no problem recommending to a beginner in terms of build complexity. Build complexity. Yeah, this is obviously for me, in my opinion, the most simple board ever are drop-in 60% gummy O-ring boards. That's like my favorite. So simple. This is a little bit of a step up, but I wouldn't say it was difficult by any means. The build guide is written quite well. Everything worked. Now I have the Vida. Ba-bum. Anyways, I'm going to use this for many, many hours, a couple days, record some sound tests, and then I will record a review portion. Now, before we end this off, it is going to take me a long time. It's basically 8 hours per plate. So we have 4 plates times by 8, 32 hours. Times that by 2, because I'm going to record sound tests that include the 2 brass internal weights as well. So 64 hours of sound testing lies ahead of me. In order to release this review video, unboxing, build guide review video in time before KeyCon, which is next week. I'm leaving next Thursday. This is the 2nd of June. The week before is Tuesday. I am not going to be able to push out 64 hours of sound test footage. So keep that in mind. I will continuously update the description of this video when I finish each full-length sound test video, but I will just include a short truncated version of the sound tests in this video. Hey, guess who lost 30 minutes of the review footage that I just recorded? This guy. But it's good because I guess I'll treat that as a first take, even though I don't have a script or anything. We've done the unboxing process. We've done the build process. Now this is the review portion of the video. So the disclaimer portion first. I bought this board and all its extras with my own money. I did not get any kickback, or Canon Keys does not pay me anything to make this video or make any video in general. Yes, I was sent the Vida, I was sent the link, and I was sent the AK75 in the past, but Canon Keys hasn't sent me any other boards to review for quite some long time. And even though they sent those 2 boards, I had to send them back. They didn't pay me for those videos or any content that I make. So these are just my words, my opinions, not paid to say any of this. I think the Vida is fantastic, especially for the $189 with free shipping blackout version that I bought back in November 2024. Obviously, it was only for that time, and I think the base price is 220, and that was a group buy price. So I'm sure the extras price, if there are any extras, will be slightly higher. This is basically what I consider to be an almost perfect tester board. And this is what I mean by tester board. Whenever I want to test a switch or keycap or plate in general, I like to use the smallest layout I can, 60%, because obviously less keys, less switches to have to put in, less keycaps to put on. I like to have a wireless one, a wireless board, just because ease of use. I daily an HHKB Type S I've dailied it for many years just because of its ease of use, can carry it around everywhere, it's wireless. And let me show you again here. I like how you can remove the top case from the bottom case with just pulling it up, because I have done in the past, I've scratched the top case whenever I use a keycap puller, even though I know there's keycap pullers that have some sort of plastic protection. Same with switches. But here, and as you can see, oop, getting better at removing it, you just remove the top case, and you can either remove your keycaps if they're loose enough with your fingers, or you can use the keycap puller. Same with the switches. So all in all, this is a perfect, almost perfect tester board because 60% wireless. I can easily remove the top case if I want to switch out switches and keycaps. The reason why I say almost perfect is because you see these 8 screws that screw the internals into the bottom case. This is basically like a bottom mount board. The build guy says you have to use those screws to screw the internals in. I made the mistake of, or maybe not mistake, of accidentally not screwing in those 8 screws during my short sound test. And actually, it didn't make much of a sound or feel difference. But since officially you're supposed to use those screws, you're supposed to use them. The reason why I say it's an issue or a con for me is I can't just remove the internals, right? I have to unscrew the screws, all 8, remove it, put it back on, things like that. Another thing, I guess we'll get into the cons now. So I do not like adhesive things. This is just my opinion. You have to put these adhesive force brakes on the plate itself. And if you're switching between plates, you have to remove it from one plate, put it onto another plate. Eventually, the adhesives will no longer stick. Maybe it's a cost-saving measure as opposed to having non-adhesive force brake mod or force brake material. I don't know. If it was a cost-saving procedure, hey, Hubert, you want to save $5 by having adhesives? Okay, I understand. But whenever adhesives come to play, I'm not the biggest fan of them, just because again, you can they no longer will be sticky after a while, especially if you're switching plates. Another con that I have is the fact that there are no extra adhesives. Maybe again, this is a cost-saving method or a cost-saving strategy. Instead of having extra either gaskets or force brake material, hey, let's cut costs. Let's try and get it as cheap as possible. Let's just send you the bare minimum. Yes, there's an option to buy extras, but I always like it when they provide you extra material, especially adhesives. So that's another gripe that I have. This is not really a specific con. This is super nitpicky. This is super, super nitpicky. But obviously, since this is using a ZMK Studio, a lot of us who use VIA or Vile or are used to VIA or Vile, it is a bit of a culture shock. It is a little bit of a learning curve. It's much better if you remember back in the day when we had the Back and Echo Go and we had to flash the ZMK. We had to use ZMK similar to like QMK Toolbox. Even though Upas or whoever wrote the How to Do It guide on Canon keys did an amazing job step by step. It was a lengthy process. ZMK Studio has come so far, and it's a much better quality of life improvement than back then, but it's still somewhat foreign to VIA and Vile. Although, again, maybe it's just a skill issue. Once we figure out how to use ZMK, it'll be easier. It's better in my opinion than the proprietary software, but uh, the proprietary software for wireless PCBs like Keychron has, QWERTY has. Yeah, but ZMK still has a way to go. ZMK Studio, but the team that's behind it, fantastic job. Pete Johansson, everybody, you're doing amazing. It's just still a little foreign to me because it's this my second board ever using ZMK on, and I'll include a ZMK overview right here. For those of you who remember the Bakaneko Go and possibly other boards, you had to actually do a more in-depth process in order to change your key map. Now with ZMK Studio, it's very similar to VIA or Vile, and it's much more user-friendly, and the quality of life improvements are there. In my opinion, it's still not as good as VIA or Vile, but it's getting there. What else can you ask for those of us who, again, have experienced the more lengthy process of having to flash and do everything with the Bakaneko Go. But anyways, so with your wireless PCB, you do have to make sure that the battery is turned off. So underneath your caps lock switch, make sure it's switched off, not on. And then you plug in the keyboard or the PCB to your computer. You select USB, and you will see ZMK Studio wants to connect to a serial port. You're looking for CK, so Charlie Kilo 60 Whiskey. Then you click connect. So you get this. Unlock to continue. For security reasons, your keyboard requires unlocking before using ZMK Studio. Now, Chippy in the Canon Keys Discord shows how to unlock it. Basically, the bottom right two keys and the top right keys. So I'll show you what that looks like. So you do the correct key combination and you unlock it. You can change the layout here. So 60% ANSI split backshift shift, ANSI full. So what I like to use for my 60% is a 7U bottom, so Sangen bottom row, split backshift, and split right shift. This is already showing my key map that I like to use, although I want to change something. So I always use the right side as dedicated arrow keys on my base layer. I want to change the pipe key to backspace. So you have a wide list of options here. Pretty cool. Different kinds of behaviors, and obviously the numerous different options you have. So let's try and find backspace. There's delete, backslash pipe, keypad. Backspace. Honestly, I could just do delete. Keypad backspace. Looking for keyboard backspace. Keyboard, left control, right. All right, let's just do keyboard delete. Keyboard delete. So you change whatever you want, and then you press the little save button up here. Saves it. I guess maybe it's not like a real con. Maybe it's just like a little, until I get used to it. This seems foreign to me. And naturally, we don't like things that are uncommon or we're not used to something, so it might be a bit strange or weird. And another thing I want to say, almost every single board or group buy or project in general, there's always going to be QC issues. Maybe 1 or 2 or 3 units out of the hundreds or thousands have some issues. I have seen 2 instances in the Canon Keys Discord in the Vida channel of 2 individuals having QC issues, something regarding the magnets and the sticking of the magnets. Now, it's not necessarily Canon Keys' fault or the manufacturer's fault, or well, I mean, somebody didn't do the right thing, but out of the hundreds or thousands of boards, just a few issues, and I'm sure that Canon Keys is going to handle it. But just to remember, just to remind everybody, the reason why we record everything during the unboxing is to save your butt. If Canon Keys or whoever you buy a board from says, "Hey, actually, I don't believe you," or "Can you send proof of it being a QC issue?" Hey, here's a video of me unboxing the whole thing. It's not something that I did. It was damaged on shipping, or the factory just didn't do this or do that. So always save your butt, because even in the best of circumstances, there may be a situation where you wish that you would have filmed the whole unboxing process. But all in all, not very many cons. And it's not because I'm biased towards AKB James or Canon Keys, although I do like them. It's just that for the price, 189 shipped, and for what it brings to the table, I love it. Yeah, there's things that can be improved on, like I said, like the adhesives and the screws, but again, maybe they're cost saving measures. Again, maybe it's a design choice. Who knows? It's just my opinion, based on the information that I know that I have. But let's get to the meat of the review, which is the keyboard triangle. So I like to talk about aesthetics, sound, and feel, the keyboard triangle, the three parts to a keyboard. And before I start, just know that regardless of what I say, regardless of what anybody else says in terms of keyboards or just in the keyboard hobby in general, everything is so preference based and subjective that you should always take my words and everybody else's words with a grain of salt. What's most important is what you believe, what you've experienced, what you've tried, what you've experimented. If I tell you that a board is great or this or that, it doesn't matter if you don't enjoy it, right? And of course, opinions do matter, because it's not like you can buy every single board, or maybe you can't go to every single meetup and try the board at the meetup. And again, meetup different than having the board on your desk, or so on and so forth. But the opinions of myself and other people do matter. But just remember, it's an opinion. There's some things that are subjective. There's some things that are not. If it's a QC issue, it's a QC issue. If I say I like the aesthetics of a board, it's just my opinion, right? If you don't like the aesthetics of a board, totally fine. So the best thing you can do is to do research, come up with your own opinions, and don't just follow what I say or anybody else says, regardless of how famous or big or knowledgeable someone seems to be. Make your own opinions, formulate your own hypotheses, figure out what you enjoy and your preferences. That's the most important thing. If you get anything out of any of my videos, please come up with your own opinions. Please don't feel bad about having your opinions, and just be respectful. But aesthetics wise, I love the aesthetics. It's so simple. It's so clean. It has a nice little back here. The Vida. Yeah. The sides are nice. I'll post some. I'll include some video and some pictures here. But I love the aesthetics. And aesthetics is very subjective, because either you like something, how something looks like, or you don't. Right? It's not like it's bad for you to like a specific design or not. For example, I like wedge weights, so glare boards with the weight as a wedge. I love those. The reflection. I've never had a reflection, but I love boards like that. So aesthetics, very subjective. The most subjective, because aesthetics is either you like it the way it looks, or you don't like the way it looks. So we'll go to the second part. Second part of the keyboard triangle, which is feel. Feel is the least subjective, because something is either super stiff or it's not, or super bouncy or it's not. This is a stiff typing experience, but it's not fatiguing. If you have rheumatoid arthritis or hand or finger issues, and you need a soft or bouncy typing feel, this board may not be for you, because it's a stiff typing feel. It is stiff, but it's not fatiguing. If you don't have any ailments or conditions, you should be totally fine. But yeah, it's definitely not what I'd consider soft or bouncy at all. Stiff typing feel. So that's the least subjective, because it's either stiff or it's not. And then the most subjective was aesthetics. Now the middle ground, sound. The reason why I only recorded such a short sound test and so few clips in general is because I don't have enough time to record my full-length sound tests and get this video out before KeyCon. The reason why I want to get this video out before KeyCon is because I'll be getting another board, which is the Craze from Nuxros. And Carl from DaVinci is sending me that. Should arrive tomorrow. So I need to have that content filmed and the majority of it edited before I leave for KeyCon. But rest assured, I will make full-length sound test videos like you know me to do with the Vida after KeyCon. The blackout version comes with 2 internal aluminum weights, and I think every other version comes with 2 internal brass weights. I bought the brass weights, but I did not hear a significant sound difference between the aluminum internal weights and the brass internal weights. Maybe the alphas were slightly more muted, slightly deeper with the brass internal weights. Maybe the space bar was also a little deeper, more muted, but it's very hard to tell. Um, and it could just be my ears, right? You might have super sensitive ears. You could figure that out. For me, was it worth the $30 in terms of sound? No, but I like brass and I had the money, so I will run it with brass internal weights just because it gives a little more heft, and I like brass even though I can't see it. But it's nothing that you have to buy. It's 100% optional. You're totally fine to not buy it. Don't feel bad if you don't buy the internal brass weights. Plates. I really like the sound of the alphas with the switches that I tried for all 4 plates. Pleasantly surprised. Usually I don't use FR4 or carbon fiber. I either use aluminum or PP or PC or plastic plate. I was pleasantly surprised with the carbon fiber and FR4 for the alphas. For the mods, same thing. For the space bar though, it was a more muted and uniform space bar with the FR4 and the PC plate. It really popped. It really stood out in the aluminum and carbon fiber plates. So there's hundreds of thousands of switch and keycap and plate combinations out there. But out of the combinations that I've tried, if you want a more uniform sound with the spacebar not really shining, for lack of a better word, I would use PC or FR4. If you want the spacebar to be a little more pronounced, I would use aluminum or carbon fiber. But all in all, I love the alphas. I love how the board sounds in general. It's absolutely in my preference in terms of sound. I like a high pitched sound. I like a clean sound, not too muddled, not too dark, not too bright. Just a nice, crisp, clean sound. Yeah, maybe I'm not using the right scientific terms, scientific words. The spacebar obviously does not pop like, let's say, a Kohaku or a Geon board is built the right way. There's many boards that have really strong sounding spacebars. There's also boards that have really strong sounding alphas or mods. And there's boards that basically sound fantastic all throughout. The alphas here are perfect, or in my opinion, they're perfect. The mods are good, and the spacebar, depending on the greatest thing in this hobby is making connections, making relationships, making friends, and talking to those friends. And who knows, those people may become friends outside of the hobby. Instead of talking about keyboards, instead of talking about the hobby, talk about life. Figure out why you enjoy them as people. Go to meetups, hang out with them, even when it's not about keyboards or anything, just enjoying other people's company. And that's what I love about this hobby. Everybody is almost always accessible. Everybody's super nice. It's not just about buying things. So, yeah, all in all, great board. I absolutely recommend it, especially for the blackout version, which I know probably isn't available because it was a Black Friday exclusive for $189. But yeah, if you see me at KeyCon, if you see me, Simon, or Gondo at KeyCon, please come up. Please say hi. I'm a big hugger. If you don't like hugs, we can handshake, we can fist bump, we can do whatever. But yeah, please come up, say hi to me. I really appreciate all your support through all these years. There's a whole bunch more content that I'm going to release coming up, not just with the podcast, but just things in general. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you to everybody who's watched my videos, commented, regardless of how long you've watched, regardless of if you've just watched 10 seconds. I really appreciate you all. I love you all, and I'll talk to you next time.